Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best stand movie related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. And you know, it's Friday, which normally means I do the show solo on Friday. I like to give everybody else the day off. But gracious enough to come in to make up for yesterday is the one and only Erin Cummings is here, ladies and gentlemen. Erin, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm awake and alert and ready to be here.
And apparently your lower third says you're Robert Meyer Burnett, so I'll try to get that.
That's okay. Everyone go
later.
to @BurnettRM and follow that person.
Well, it's
but you can also follow me at Erin L. Cummings.
And you can also follow there. We'll get your proper lower third put up there in a second.
Thank you.
Anyway, guys, listen, we've got a lot of stuff that we need to cover today, including a whole bunch of stuff that just kind of came up this morning that we need to get to. And we're going to start things off the top with this. One of the movies you guys know that I've been pretty excited about is Hobbs and Shaw. I'm a big fan of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I love Jason Statham. I love them both in the Fast and Furious franchise. And when they said they were going to be doing a spin-off film, I was all for it. They did a great presentation at CinemaCon a couple of months ago. The previous trailers have been pretty damn good. I've enjoyed the previous trailers. But I'll tell you what, guys, they just dropped, for those of you who don't know, they just dropped what they're calling the final trailer for Hobbs and Shaw. And oh my God, they have saved the best for last. This trailer is out freaking standing. It is the most nuts, balls to the wall, crazy, ludicrous, everything you've come to expect from a Fast and Furious type of thing. They just went all out. Some of it practical, a lot of it CGI, but I'll tell you what, even the CGI stuff they did looked really damn good. Even on a YouTube stream, it looked good. Because a lot of times, the visual effects stuff doesn't look right, either on a TV screen or on a YouTube screen. And it's kind of because it's kind of composed in a way to look at its best on a movie screen. But even on a YouTube stream, it looked freaking outstanding. I wish Rob was here so I could rub that, you know, hashtag justice for Han in his face. It's a good thing Han's gone, because now we got Shaw, which is great. I'm ludicrously happy about this trailer. I don't know how they could have made a better trailer for this. Now, look, I'll just say this. This could be a terrible movie. It could be it, absolutely.
Totally,
it could absolutely be an absolutely horrible movie. I have no doubt about that. I have no qualms about that. Absolutely could be. But as far as just a trailer goes, this is clearly the best one they've put out so far. But seriously, I don't know how you could have possibly made a trailer for Hobbs and Shaw look any better. Anyway.
It was incredible.
Yeah, Erin,
I was standing over John's shoulder when we were watching it right before the show, and I was practically jumping out of my skin. I kept cheering. I kept saying, "Oh my God, oh my God!" And I couldn't even tell what was CGI and what was not. I also like to watch movies with a suspension of disbelief, so I don't look for it. But there were so many moments that I said, how in the world did they do that? It didn't even occur to me that it was CGI. And one of my favorite moments was when they go back to the fictional, I don't even know where they shot it. Maybe it's the fictional hometown of his character. But when they do the haka, it's such a beautiful moment. And also, I think it really reiterates that theme that runs through the Fast and the Furious franchise, which is family and the importance of family. And I thought that was a really beautiful touch. And I said to John, as soon as we saw it, I said, when does it come out? I want to see it this afternoon.
Yeah, because it literally just dropped like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. It
literally just dropped. And she was standing on our show. She goes, can we go see this now?
And I'm not even necessarily a huge action, like I'm not the person that goes, I have to see every action film the second it comes out. But this is one film I will be seeing opening weekend because of that trailer.
Yeah, I am with you on that. Again, guys, don't do it right now because, you know, you're watching the John Campea Show. But guys, the moment you have an opportunity, I highly recommend running out and watching this trailer.
You can see their chemistry. You can feel it coming out of the screen. The two of them together. That's a pair that I want to see over and over again.
Yeah, and you know, the sister comes across great.
She does, very
Shaw's
strong.
Sister, very strong. The action, the car stuff, the motorcycle stuff,
the boat stuff, the semi stuff,
the helicopters. I mean, it's one
moment is more ludicrous than the next, but it works because you just go into it. As we said on Wednesday, I believe someone referred to it as empty calories.
Yes.
You know what? I will take all of those empty calories.
Yeah, it looks great. Anyway, guys, have you had a chance to see the Hobbs and Shaw trailer yet? If so, want to hear from you. Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to the next thing off the top, and that is this. Now, for a little while now, we've been talking about little whispers, little rumors about, hey, could there be a Venom and SpiderMan crossover? For a long time, I thought, nah, you can never really see that. I don't see Sony, and Marvel doesn't want Sony's universe to be officially a part of the MCU, because what happens if they stop working together and blah, blah, blah. But then, a little while ago, if you guys remember, Kevin Feige was asked about it, and Kevin Feige said, yeah, that'll probably happen at some point. I mean, it's up to Sony, but probably that'll happen at some point. A Venom and Spider-Man crossover with Tom Hardy's Venom, which caught a lot of people, especially me, completely off guard. Well, the thing keeps going a little bit here because now the director of Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, Watts, he's come out and said that he thinks it would be a very special thing to do. He was being asked about it, and he was talking about a few things, and he basically said, he goes, I found Venom to be so funny, and I thought Tom Hardy was so great. I don't know that they are so different. I think you put those two Toms together, and you're going to see something pretty special. Now, listen, there have been people with the tinfoil hats on that going, you know what? One of the big surprises in Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be Tom Hardy getting off a plane, in New York saying, it's good to be home or something like that. Some people mentioned that before. And I say, well, no, that can happen. But I don't know now. I'm starting to think that maybe it's a bit of a possibility. And look, going beyond that, you're talking about two actors right now. They're becoming two of my favorites in the business right now. I'm falling more and more enamored with Tom Holland. His Spider-Man incarnation has been great. I'm looking forward to seeing him in other things as well. But Tom Hardy has just been one of the solid staples for a while. We know he's one of the best in the business. To see these two guys together on screen right now, I think would be pretty damn fun. Erin, you hear this story. I mean, we often hear people fangasming over the idea, imagine if Star Wars meets Star Trek or whatever. But do you think, from what you're hearing, that there could be any legitimacy to this, or is this just a fairy tale that fans are telling themselves right now?
I think absolutely there's legitimacy to it. I think in the business, a lot of times seeds are planted. This is such a time where feedback from the audience is so instantaneous with social media.
Right.
So when someone plants a little seed like that, I think that there are people listening when the fans say, yes, we want to see that. That would be fantastic. And talk about chemistry. I think that those two Toms would be really beautiful together. I love what Tom Holland does. I love what he brings to Spider-Man. And I think that match with the sinister element of the Venom character.
Right.
Mixed with the innocence of Tom Holland's portrayal as Spider-Man would be such a beautiful thing to see. The contrast of those two characters together, as well as what Tom Hardy brings to his character within Venom, of his internal struggle. I think that those three characters, or almost four, I guess three, I would really think, because Spider-Man doesn't separate himself from the yeah. But I think that would be a beautiful mix, and I do think that the more fans keep talking about it, the more it's a real possibility. If it's not in the works now, with enough fan feedback, it very well could be.
And you got a thing for Toms. So
I definitely do. And I've had a thing for Tom Hardy before I had a thing for my husband, Tom Degnan. But I think Tom Hardy can do no wrong. He is as you said, he is a staple. He's solid. He is good in every single thing that he does. And he's not too bad on the eyes either.
I'm looking forward. He's got a movie coming out. I'm forgetting the name of it. It's where he's playing Al Capone.
Oh,
and it's being directed
by
Josh Trank, who directed Chronicle. And I think it's called Gonzo or something like that. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to that, but this could be interesting. Again, what do you guys think? Do you think, even with Kevin Feige kind of hinting a little bit that now John Watts, the director of Spider-Man, may be saying that, do you actually think there is any real legitimate possibility that this could happen sometime? I want to know what you think. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's also go off the top with this. One of the rumors that have been going around lately that, quite frankly, I have given no attention to whatsoever was a few rumors and reports going around that Daisy Ridley could end up being Batgirl. That's something that's been going around a little bit. And like I said, quite frankly, and by the way, I love this art of Daisy Ridley as Batgirl. That's done by an artist called, what's his name? Let me pull it up here because I want to make sure I get it right. Missouri is his name. You should check him up on Instagram. He does some great work. Anyway, I love this. Came out, I believe, today. He did some artwork of her as Batgirl, which is great. But I have honestly, again, paid no attention to this. It's just yet another one of the 100 every day that we hear of, oh, rumors about this person casting in this and blah, blah, and that's probably not true at all. Blah. I wasn't thinking anybody was lying about it. It's just I don't think it was really true. Okay, so that said, that I kind of brushed it aside and thought, no truth to this whatsoever. I'm going to say this. I spoke to somebody yesterday that would be in a position of the know, who told me, without going into terrible detail, that while the reports of, because one of the rumors going around about this was that Daisy Ridley's in final negotiations for that means the studios picked them. Now they're just working out the details, blah, blah, blah. He said, while that may not be true, it is true that there have been discussions between Daisy Ridley's camp and Warner Brothers regarding Batgirl. And that caught me totally by surprise because I'm one of the guys who went, come on, that's not a real thing. Maybe it is. So now I'm being told that while it may not necessarily be true that she's in final negotiations and an announcement is imminent, that there have maybe it is, but there have been some talks and discussions going on about that. So these rumors about her possibly being Batgirl, there could be some more legitimacy to it than I was giving it credit for. Straight up, I did not think this was true. I didn't think it was real. I'm still not 100% sure it's true or real, to be clear with you, but it seems like there could be some more legitimacy to it than I was giving it credit for. If that's the case, look, just by the fact that she's in Star Wars, she's a big name right now. I wasn't a big fan of Murder on the Orient Express, even though I love Kenneth Branagh, but her performance in it was great. She was wonderful in the film. She's got that chaos walking coming with Tom Holland. We'll see whatever that turns out to be. But could you imagine this young woman, Daisy Ridley, all of a sudden, like just a few years ago, she's a struggling, upcoming actress, nothing. Now you flash forward a few years later, Erin, and you're talking about a girl who is now Batgirl and a Star Wars lead all at once. Mm-hmm. Erin, let me ask you this. You've seen, obviously none of us have seen a lot of the work of Daisy Ridley.
Right.
Off the top of your head, what would you think just theoretically as a first response to a girl like her being a Batgirl, but more importantly, with as an actress who's been trying to get more into the dramatic stuff from what we understand, do you think like doing a move to a Batgirl would even be a good move for somebody like her? What do you think?
Well, it didn't hurt Harrison Ford when he did another franchise.
That's a great point.
I mean, as soon as I saw that this was a possibility, my first thought went to, oh my, that's the Harrison Ford model. You know, he already had a legitimate career set up, and as an actor, you know, I mean, she's been doing, we were just talking about this beforehand, she has spent the greater part of her 20s, she's 27 now, she spent the greater part of her 20s doing the Star Wars franchise, and with such an iconic role, it's very easy to get pigeonholed as that if you don't have something that's really big that breaks that chain where people go, oh, and she was also this. And so I think Batgirl is a really great way for her to show a very different side of herself while still maintaining her, you know, the fact that she has an action background, the fact that she can carry a film. And I hope that if they follow in the track of Wonder Woman and make her a strong presence versus like just a sexy version of Batman, I think that it could do very, very well. I would absolutely support that, and I would be interested in seeing that.
Well, guys, listen, what do you think about all this? Now, again, don't misquote me. Don't run around and saying John Campea confirms that she isn't. I'm not even saying I'm 100% sure about it. I'm just telling you what I heard and that maybe there's more legitimacy than I thought. But what would you guys think about it? Do you think Daisy Ridley could make a good Batgirl? Do you think maybe it wouldn't even be a good move for her? Do you think it'd be a great move for her? I want to hear what you guys think. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, one last thing off the top before we go off to our main topics. You know, it was announced the other day that the Joker movie, which we've known about for about a year now, it was almost a year ago now. It was just before Comic-Con, or right at Comic-Con time, that they made the announcement, it's official, Joaquin Phoenix Joker coming next October, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of us knew it could be something very, very special. I love the idea of a standalone Elseworlds kind of Joker movie that is truly a standalone film and not part of a shared cinematic universe, because not every effing thing has to be in a shared cinematic universe. Anyway, so I've been very excited about that. Joaquin Phoenix, the people involved, Martin Scorsese was one of the guys who got the ball rolling on the whole project, yada, yada, yada. The trailer then comes out for Joker, and a lot of us go, what the hell? This looks amazing. I remember they first showed it to us at CinemaCon, and everybody's like, this is not like any comic book film we've seen before. Much like the Logan feel when that Logan trailer came out. We were like, this doesn't feel like any other comic book film before. And then some people started whispering, hey, this could be like an Oscar contender. And then I'm like, okay, come on, pump the brakes, guys. It looks really good, but let's not going Oscar contender so quick. Well, guess what? Maybe Warner Brothers does think this is an Oscar contender. Look, word came out yesterday that Warner Brothers is looking at taking Joker to the Venice Film Festival. Now, why is that significant? Joe Blow does a really good job, and they put it like this. The festival, talking about the Venice Film Festival, has become a notable launch pad for Oscar contenders, with 3 of the last 5 Best Picture winners debuting there, with movies like Roma and Shape of Water winning the coveted Golden Lion Award the last 2 years. The festival is also a big part of Joaquin Phoenix, giving him a much-deserved Best Actor prize for his work in The Master in 2012, which was fantastic, by the way. Warner Brothers itself is no stranger to the festival, and it has become more and more notable as the first major festival of the award season. They've brought eventual Oscar contenders such as A Star is Born and Gravity and more to screen at the festival. When you really look at what the Venice Film Festival is and has become, and how Warner Brothers has up till this point viewed that festival and utilized that festival, what's becoming clear is this. Warner Brothers, to me, they really do. And you remember, the release date, they're releasing in October, the beginning parts of what you can consider Oscar season. Warner Brothers, I believe at this point, is basically sending a signal that they legitimately believe that their Joker movie is actually, in every real sense, a possible award season contender. Now look, I love Warner Brothers, but one of the things I have criticized Warner Brothers for in the past, specifically about their DCEU stuff, but even beyond that, is they often don't show a lot of confidence in certain films that they have that maybe they should show confidence. You know what I always say? And if you're not going to show confidence in your film, why should I have confidence in your film? They are showing the biggest display of confidence I think you possibly could for a film like this by saying, you know what? Yeah, it's a comic book movie. We're taking it to Venice. We're taking it to the festival that we've launched our Oscar campaigns for our other Oscar films, and we're going to take this one there. I believe that's a huge ape pounding his chest. That's unzipping the pants, pulling it out, and slapping it on the table. That's what this is to me. I know it's a weird analogy. Never mind.
It's not weird. It's very specific.
Very specific. But that's what this move is to me. I think it's outstanding. And look, before I was the one who was telling everybody, hey, everybody, pump the brakes about this Oscar season stuff. Not anymore. Make room for me on the bandwagon. I'm jumping on. I think Warner Brothers is yelling loud and clear, this movie's fantastic. We believe in it. And we think more than just the traditional comic book audience is going to get on board with this. Erin, you see Warner Brothers taking a move like this, taking a movie like Joker, bringing it to Venice, which doesn't seem to equate on that level. Is this them making a public proclamation about what they think about the film, or am I just getting a little bit too excited about this?
No. You can get as excited as you clearly are, and rightfully so, because you have Venice Film Festival also. It has maintained this this image of a really serious film festival. You know, we hear a lot of talk about Cannes and about Sundance, but there's a lot of revelry around those film festivals. It's not necessarily always about the films that are going there, as much as it is sometimes about the stars that are going there. Whereas Venice has really maintained its reputation of being a legitimate film festival, a strong film festival for incredible films. It has a very high
prestige element to it.
A prestige, exactly. And so for them to come out the gate, not just we're going to bring this to a festival, but to specifically the Venice Film Festival, really shows that they have incredible confidence in this film. It's interesting. I was actually having this conversation with someone last night. We were having an argument where they said there will never be a Joker better than Heath Ledger. And I said, people said the exact same thing about Jack Nicholson.
Yes.
And you can't say that because I guarantee, I mean, just in the initial bits that have been released, Joaquin Phoenix's performance, I think, is really going to change in the way that I think The Dark Knight changed the way that people were looking at comic book films. And if you also want to talk about things that are not usual Oscar contenders, let's go back and look at Hustle and Flow. I mean, when It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp was being performed and then won for, I think it was Best Original Song at the Academy Awards.
What was it, 3 6 Mafia that did that
yes,
one? Yeah,
it's like mind blown. Was that ever expected was going to happen on the Academy Awards stage? Not really, but you know what? That's one of the wonderful things about the film industry is that it's constantly reinventing itself. And for a comic book film to say, we're coming out the gate strong because we want to be a contender, that's going to make everyone's eyes look at them in a different way.
You know, it's funny, that moment you just mentioned gave birth to one of the greatest Oscar moments in history, because I believe Jon Stewart was hosting the Oscars that year. I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. And at that time, Martin Scorsese had still not won his Best Director Academy Award. And Jon Stewart, after 3 6 Mafia won the award and they left the stage, Jon Stewart came out and said, for those of you keeping score at home, 3 6 Mafia won Oscar, Martin Scorsese 0. And it was one of the greatest moments, I think, in Oscar history.
Yes.
Hey, listen, guys, what do you think about this whole thing? Is this really like, oh my God, when you look at the precedents of Warner Brothers and what they take to Venice and what Venice is, blah, 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 do you think, like I do, this is them pounding their chest saying, we've got a serious award season contender here? Or do you think, nah, this is just a PR play, which is very possible? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what you guys think. All right. With all of that down, guys, it's time for us to get into our main topics. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. See, you guys come up with them by going to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you get there, make sure you fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's move on to our first main topic today. And our first main topic today is sent in to us from... That's not the right one. There we go. It's sent in to us from Curtis Lopez, who writes, Yo, John, some of us know Millie Bobby Brown will play Enola Holmes in a movie about Sherlock's younger sister. But we now learn that Superman himself, Henry Cavill, will be playing Sherlock Holmes in Enola. I'm never going to pronounce that right, by the way. Enola Holmes. Are you excited to see Superman share scenes with Eleven? And what do you think about Cavill playing Holmes? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And for those of you who weren't sure about this or didn't know about this before, exactly as they laid it out there, there is this movie coming out with Millie Bobby Brown that's going to be going into production soon about Sherlock Holmes' younger sister, and it's based on a series of novels that they've done. Now, here's the story specifically about the whole thing. It's this. Superman actor, and this is from Dark Horizons, Superman actor Henry Cavill is set to take on the role of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's famed fictional sleuth Sherlock Holmes in Enola Holmes for Legendary Pictures. The film is an adaptation of Nancy Springer's Edgar Award-nominated Enola Holmes Mysteries novel series, which spans multiple installments and follows on Sherlock and Mycroft Holmes' teenage sister, Enola, as she strikes out as a capable detective. Stranger Things actress Millie Bobby Brown will play Enola, while Helena Bonham Carter came on board earlier today in the role of Enola's mother. So they are putting a stacked cast together. They're putting together a really good-looking cast here. And look, side note to keep in mind, there is still whispers going around that Henry Cavill could very well may end up being our next James Bond. Remember, he was the runner-up to play Bond when the role eventually went to Daniel Craig. It was Henry Cavill was the runner-up for that. We could be talking about here in a couple years about Henry Cavill, the man who played Superman, Sherlock Holmes, and James Bond. That would be sick. And you know what? I'm all for it. I have loved Henry Cavill as an actor ever since I first came across him in The Tudors, the television series that I'm sure a lot of you probably haven't seen, but he was fabulous in that. I have loved him as Superman. He is, I know it's sacrilegious to say, he is my all-time favorite Superman. Yes, even more than Christopher Reeve. And that's all due respect to Christopher Reeve's Superman, absolutely, but I love Henry Cavill in this role. I think he's a marvelous actor. He was great in that Mission Impossible movie. He's got range. He's got talent. He's been pegged as a can't-miss prospect by a lot of people in this business long before you and I ever heard his name, and I love seeing him as this kind of success. I don't know what I think, Erin, about the notion of a mystery movie about Sherlock Holmes' younger sister. I don't know how I feel about that overall. I certainly like Millie Bobby Brown. I love the casting in this. Once I see the first trailer, I'll gauge my own thing on this.
Right.
But I love the fact that Henry's going to be this, even if it's not the lead character. And don't forget, we've got a big Netflix series coming with Henry Cavill in The Witcher. The Witcher's coming. Everybody's buzzing about that. But anyway, Erin, you hear about this. Number one, what do you just think about Henry Cavill in general? Because I don't think you and I have ever really talked about him. And then what do you think about him taking on a role like this as Sherlock Holmes?
Okay, I have a very specific point of view in this, and I'm sorry, I don't support it. I'm not.
Really?
I don't. And here's why. I was a big fan of the Benedict Cumberbatch series, Sherlock Holmes, and even Elementary to a certain degree, on CBS,
Right.
like a very watered down version of it, but still a very good show as far as procedurals go. I kind of don't want my Sherlock Holmes to be hot. And it's not about he can't be attractive, but I feel like Henry Cavill, even though, yes, I've seen all the things for the new series that he has coming up, and he really does a good job of trying to make himself unattractive. And it's not about being an unattractive Sherlock Holmes. It's about Henry Cavill is hot. But it was the same reason why I didn't want to see Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, because I was like, she's a bikini model. I was wrong. She totally proved me wrong. I am now a big fan. And so I'm hoping that Henry Cavill proves me wrong, but I kind of see him like, I don't understand how someone who's so traffic stoppingly attractive would be able to be a detective. Like, you got to kind of be able to skirt in between the scenes. And so I'm not really excited about it. I kind of want someone that has a little bit more flavor.
There's a little bit more flavor. It's kind of like Seagal juice. But I, counted in the archives of phrases never used about me, traffic stoppingly attractive. That's a great phrase. I got to use that more often.
I'm going to get you a T-shirt that says traffic stoppingly attractive.
That's great. I mean, that's an interesting point of view. I've never really thought about it that way, about how the character. Now, of course, we've also seen Robert Downey Jr. play Sherlock Holmes.
But Robert Downey Jr. is not hot. He's not hot.
Okay.
There's a huge difference between being attractive and being hot. Like Pamela Anderson on Baywatch was hot.
Right.
Helen Mirren is attractive. But
Right.
when Helen Mirren was a young theater actress, she was very hot.
I've never thought.
I don't want to be hot. I want to be attractive. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like attractive is much more interesting than hot. So I really hope that Henry Cavill spends some time out in the sun, wrinkles a lot, maybe drinks a lot, does some drugs, just really, gets his face all, gets himself uglied up a little bit.
This segment, Hollywood advice from actress Erin Cummings, ladies and gentlemen.
Drink, smoke a lot of cigarettes, and do some drugs.
And
then you'll be interesting.
Perfect for the role. Well, listen, guys, what do you think about all this? I mean, do you like the idea of a Henry Cavill in the role? Do you not? Do you think it adds some more attention to it? Do you think maybe it lessens your enjoyment of it or lessens your anticipation of it? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what you think. All right. With that down, let's move on to the second main topic today. And our second main topic today is submitted to us from Omar94, who writes, Paul Rudd's been announced to star in Jason Reitman's Ghostbusters 3. Thoughts? I like Paul Rudd, but overall, I'm still mixed on the film. Jason Reitman's a great director, yet he's never done blockbuster filmmaking, but I'll keep an open mind. I really like Ghostbusters 1, and Ghostbusters 2 was okay in my opinion. Thanks, and have a good day. All right, so for those of you who maybe haven't heard about this yet, there is a new Ghostbusters movie that is in continuity with Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2, and the one that they did with Melissa McCarthy a few years ago has kind of been swept away, so that's gone. Now they're going back to the original timeline, all that kind of stuff. In a poetic, beautiful move, the original film's director, Ivan Reitman, his son, Jason Reitman, is going to be directing this thing, which I think is marvelous, by the way, because they got my attention right away. I am a major fan of Jason Reitman. Good Canadian kid, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. He has done several, very quietly, amassed an amazing resume with several, awards contending films and stuff like that. Everything from films like Juno, which is still one of my favorite films just to sit down, plop down, and put on the screen. I just love Juno. Thank You for Smoking, which I actually might think is his best film. I love Thank You for Smoking. I think it's crazy funny the way they approach it. Up in the Air was brilliant. Tully was very quietly one of the better films of last year. Tully was actually really, really good. And then what was that one he did was also with Charlize Theron, adulting or becoming an adult or something like that. Was really, Jason Reitman makes funny, interesting, character-centric films that I actually really enjoy. And to see him come on and do a Ghostbusters, following in the footsteps of his father who directed the originals, I think it's great. Now, everybody knows I am a big Paul Rudd fan. To me, Paul Rudd can simply do no wrong. Yeah. Whether it was in, what was that teenage comedy he was in?
Clueless?
Was it Clueless?
Yeah, it was Clueless.
Clueless. Whether it's Clueless or his, by the way, his recurring role in Parks and Rec, amazing. I loved him in that. I love this guy in everything. He's just, whether it's Anchorman or 40-Year-Old Virgin or Ant-Man. I love him as Ant-Man.
Or This Is 40.
Or adding him to a project like this, I think is great. Like I always say, adding talent is always a good move. It's always a good move to add talent. He's one of the best. I love this guy. I was already excited for this Ghostbusters project. I'm even more so now. So that's how I'm saying about this. Erin, you hear about this. Number one, what do you think about them, just even the Ghostbusters project in general, but then the addition of a Paul Rudd?
I mean, Ghostbusters is a film that it's iconic in so many ways for so many people. And I think reintroducing that to a new audience, a younger audience, is always a great idea. If you have someone like Jason Reitman behind it, because ultimately, I'm not looking for a blockbuster director who's going to be able to do lots of explosions and create more big walking marshmallows. What I'm interested in is a director who is going to be able to tell story and to create a relationship between characters that I get emotionally invested in. Then, regardless of whatever else is going on, I care about these people and I want to see them win at the end of the day. Now, as far as Paul Rudd is concerned, I agree with you. I think that anyone who does not love Paul Rudd doesn't have a soul, because how could you not? He's great in everything. And I actually saw him, I went to opening night of a play that he did on Broadway with Michael Shannon in 2012 called Grace. And if I didn't already know that he was a talented actor for what I'd seen on screen, watching him do what he did on stage in front of a live audience blew my mind and forever solidified me as a Paul Rudd fan. I think that he is going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, he is fantastic. And by the way, going back to that one point you brought up in your message there, Omar, about, he's never really done blockbuster filmmaking. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters about his director is, can he tell a good story? That's it. That's it. I remember, you guys have heard me tell this story before, but that one time, you guys remember we did the Guardians of the Galaxy special that I did, and I had Kevin Feige and James Gunn and Chris Pratt there. And I asked, because I was already a big fan of James Gunn because of Slither and things like that, but I asked Kevin Feige, I said, it's a different thing making a Slither or these small budget things. What made you confident in a James Gunn to come in and do this huge blockbuster thing? And Kevin Feige said straight up, it doesn't matter if a film's budget is $10 million or $10 million. If a guy knows how to tell a story, or a girl, then they know how to tell a story.
Yeah,
if
look at Patty Jenkins. If a director
can tell a story, they can tell a story. And did you say look at Patty Jenkins?
Yeah,
I mean, from Monster going into
absolutely, and that's the thing, is that as a director, when you say, well, they've never done a blockbuster, every single director who's ever done a blockbuster, right before they did their first blockbuster, they were a director who'd never done a blockbuster. And Patty Jenkins, I think, went into Wonder Woman, there was a lot of skepticism. I think.
Oh, not from me. That's the reason I had any faith.
Well, not from you.
That's the reason I had any faith, was because of her.
Because you are an exceptional human being who is also traffic-stoppingly attractive.
Yes.
But there was a lot of pushback, and I think that she definitely proved a lot of people wrong. So if someone, like we said, if someone has an ability to tell a story, then regardless of the budget, I think that that's going to translate.
Right. And then we get a X-Men Dark Phoenix where we had a director who's never directed a blockbuster, but he's also never directed anything before that, and that's a different story. But I've got
I don't even understand how that happens.
Yeah, neither did I. We've talked about that so much. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? The addition of Paul Rudd to Ghostbusters. I think it's a great move. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what you guys think. All right, with that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today is submitted to us from Philip G, who writes, Greetings and salutations, John. Well, greetings, Philip. So I know most of us haven't actually thought Daisy Ridley would be in the next immediate round of Star Wars movies, since a lot of whispers say it's going to be Old Republic stuff. But honestly, with all the rumors of her being Batgirl, which we just talked about a little bit earlier, for DC soon, and the other stuff that has her career really hot right now, I kind of thought Lucasfilm would want to take advantage of that and put her in. So I was a bit surprised when she confirmed that she wasn't going to be in the next round of Star Wars films. What do you think about this? All right. So what Philip is talking about is recently Daisy Ridley was directly asked. Now, we all know there's a new trilogy of Star Wars films coming out from the Game of Thrones showrunners, Benioff and Weiss. That's coming. There's a lot of whispers that it's going to be Old Republic, or at least set in the era of the Old Republic, which we don't know for sure, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I think a lot of us, you're right. We're assuming that Daisy Ridley herself wasn't probably going to be a part of that. But anyway, just to be clear, somebody did ask her about that, and she said the following. This was her quote about this. She said this: I mean, I can say I'm not in the next trilogy. No, I think because Ryan always said, if it's the Ryan one, or the guys who did Game of Thrones, pretending like she doesn't know what's going on. I'm not sure. Whichever one it was, they always said it was going to be a separate story. So no, I'm not. No. Now, look, on the one hand, you're absolutely right. The interesting thing here is that with her career getting hotter, like not only are there whispers about Batgirl, she's also got another film in the works called A Woman of No Importance, which is about, I believe she plays a British spy in World War II that helped turn the tide of the war and stuff like that, which she's got a career, and then she's got Chaos Walking coming with Tom Holland as well. She's got all that coming. It's not crazy of you to ask the question, you know, hey, with the career getting hot, maybe you want to capitalize on that and put her in there? I get it, but what do I always say? The movies are not there to serve the characters. The characters are there to serve the movies. Mm-hmm. You come up with your movie. You don't change your movies, your plans for your movies just because an actor might get hot. You know what happens when you do that? The final seasons of The Office, when Michael Scott left, and there was no way in hell they should have made, I can't even remember Ed Helms' character's name. What do they call him? They didn't know. He called
Jim Big Tuna. Andy.
It was Andy. That's right, Andy. Mm-hmm. There is no way Andy should have been the centerpiece of that show after Michael Scott left the show. There's no way it should have happened. But The Hangover had come out not long ago. It's the hottest things. And they made a huge mistake of like, well, let's make him the center of the show. And the show suffered for it. That's what normally happens. So, look, yeah, I don't think many people are surprised that she's not going to be in that, and that's fine. I do think they're going to come back to Rey eventually, 6-7 years down the line, which will be great because she'll be in her 30s at that point and all that kind of stuff. I think that'll be a great point. But for me, nope, no surprise that she's not going to be in these ones. Any for you, Erin?
No surprise. And like we said earlier, I mean, she's spent the better part of her 20s playing this character, and she as an actor probably, I mean, it's important for her to change up her brand, not only for the way that she's perceived in the industry, for her to be able to step outside of Rey, but also for her own enjoyment. I mean, I know a lot of actors that get really burnt out, and they're appreciative of the incredible opportunity, but you play the same character for 4, 5, 6, 7+ years, and you know, the joy drains very fast. Yeah, the
enthusiasm starts to die. You can start
like
to get
with
a little
anything.
Fatigued. Yeah, that's why we see like some of these stars of these TV series who've had a series running for 8 years, and it's like you think, oh my gosh, you might want to ride that forever, but a lot of them are like, I'm actually can't wait to not do this every day. So.
And people say, oh, well, they're making so much money, you should just be so thankful. But you know what? It's all relative, you know. And once you have a certain amount of money, there's only so much money that you need to make in order to be satisfied. And if what you're doing every day for your job isn't satisfying to you, then what does it matter how much of a paycheck you're bringing in? If your bills are paid and your basic needs are taken care of, and you're going to work and you're hating your job every day, I mean, if you think about it on any level, none of us would want to live that life. So whether you're making $30,000 a year or $30 million a year, if you don't love what you do, then you're just not going to be happy. So I understand and I applaud anyone, whether they're an actor or a sanitation worker, saying, I'm done with this shit.
Nice problem to have. $30 million a year. Nice problem to have. I will think about that.
Well, regardless of how much money is in the bank, people always have problems.
That's
and
true.
In the immortal words of Biggie Smalls, no money, no problems.
No problems. And so what do you guys think about that? Are you surprised at all? Or are you like a lot of us saying, nah, no surprise that she's not going to be in there? Or did you think maybe there was going to be a chance they may try to fit her in? Jump down the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to the fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today is submitted to us from the Word of S, who writes, "Hey, John, The Lion King is probably the most beloved animated movie, and early projections has it opening at around $150 million. I'm surprised by this. If Endgame did not open to over $300 million, I thought there was a chance Lion King could beat the opening weekend record, but I see this opening closer to $225 million. I will be more shocked if this doesn't break the $1 billion mark than opening to just over $200 million. What are your thoughts?" All right. And for those of you who don't know what a Word of S is talking about, tracking numbers have just come out for Lion King, which is still a number of weeks away. Lion King is still a number of weeks away. It is my personal favorite all-time animated film. The last time I did a March Movie Madness tournament with 64 animated films, you guys selected Lion King as your favorite all-time animated film. It's gorgeous and wonderful and beautiful and perfect in all ways possible. Anyway, so we got this new Lion King coming. Cannot begin to tell you how excited I am for it. Jon Favreau, coming off what he did with The Jungle Book, which is incredible and all that kind of stuff, rolling now into a Lion King is just perfection. The voice cast sounds great. I think the trailers looked amazing. I got a little teary-eyed watching the presentation they gave us at CinemaCon. It was nutty. I just cannot wait. There are people who love movies are going to go, casual movie fans are going to go, and people who don't go to movies are going to go to see Lion King. And it's going to be a multi-generational thing and all this kind of stuff. So what is with this $150 million-ish opening? Well, keep in mind, number one, even if it opens to just $154 million, it'll be the second biggest opening of the year, only behind Avengers Endgame. Right now, I believe Captain Marvel is sitting at like 153, 152. Lion King will beat that. But to me, the big thing to keep in mind here is this, is that, look, we still don't have any reviews for this movie. There's no word of mouth yet. There's no reviews because the movie's still weeks away. There's nobody talking about it yet. I believe 100% that when this movie comes out, if, this is a big if it's as good as I think it's going to be, and the reviews come out and word of mouth comes out and blah, blah. And if it's all super positive, which I think it's going to be, but we don't know for sure until it happens, that tracking number of 150 is going to get blown out of the water.
Yeah.
I think we're looking closer to 200 plus million. Now, I do not believe it's going to get within a whiff of Endgame, not within a whiff of Endgame, but this is a movie that's going to have legs, and all depending on the quality of the film. If it's a mediocre film, 150 is probably where it's going to be. But I'm telling you, I think it's going to be really special. And if it is, this thing is going to blow the doors off the box office. Not 300 million, but well north of that. Interesting thing here too, Erin, for us to keep in mind is this. When Lion King opens, I want you to look at this chart here. This is the opening weekend charts for 2019. Right now, the top 5 opening weekends for 2019 are all Disney films, save for Universal's Us. You might be saying, John, what's BV? BV is Disney's distributing arm, Buena Vista.
Right.
They have the number 1 film in Endgame, number 2 film in Captain Marvel, number 3 film in Toy Story, number 4 film in Aladdin, and then number 5 spot is by Universal. So when Lionsgate, when Lion King opens, it will definitely open to more than $71 million. It'll probably be closer to 200, I think. You are going to have the top 5 opening weekends of the year will all be Disney-owned properties, from the Marvel brand to the Pixar brand to the Disney Pictures brand. It's going to be all Disney-owned stuff in the top 5, which is a little bit psychotic. Anyway, Erin, you're hearing these numbers. I believe this movie's going to be great. And when the word gets out that it's great, and who knows, maybe it'll be terrible, but when word gets out that it's great, I believe this $150 million is going to be a punchline to a joke later, because I think it's going to be well above that. I'm thinking minimum 180, 190, probably closer to 225, because I think everybody wants to see this. Grandparents, parents, children, children's future children, they all want to see this thing. I don't know. You're looking at this. What do you think about it?
I mean, my future children have already emailed me and been texting and saying, "Hey, Mom, it's interesting seeing Aladdin up there because think about how much controversy was facing Aladdin before it even came out. There were many controversies, even early from the casting of Billy Magnuson. Over a year before it even came out, there was controversy, and it still made it into the top 5. The trailer for Lion King. I got a tear just from the trailer. I don't even know what you saw at that presentation, but the trailer tugs on the heartstrings in such a beautiful way. And I do think that it is going to blow things out of the water. It's going to blow records out of the water. I don't necessarily have an understanding of how much money is brought in since I'm very new to the John Campea Show. I'm still learning that part of it, so I can't make a speculation about how much money it will bring in. But I agree with you. Not only from the original film, the soundtrack, the Broadway show. I mean, think about how that is one of the longest running, if not the longest running show in Broadway history. So every single person who's ever seen that show is going to then go and see this film, and they're going to bring their children. And you, as you said, like Avengers Endgame, for as well as it did, it also, like, I'm not going to bring a 5-year-old to see Avengers Endgame. I would bring a 5-year-old to see Lion King. So there's an even greater audience that can see this film. We already know all of the characters. We already love all of the characters. And we already know all the songs too.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a connection on such a deeper level with Lion King that we don't have for very many other films. And if the trailer is any indication of the film, then this film is going to be incredible. Because as excited as I was about, I want to say Calvin and Hobbs. I'm just blanking.
I'd be excited about that. I'd be damn excited about that.
Help me out, John. We just saw the trailer. Hobbs and
Shaw.
Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw.
Thank you. Hobbs.
I know. Literally, it's been spinning in my mind. As excited as I was about Hobbs and Shaw, I am even more so about Lion King, and that will 100% be a film that I will be seeing along with all of the little people in my life on opening weekend.
Am I one of the little people in your life?
You're the big man in my life.
There you go. Sorry, Tom. So here's an interesting thing too, is that just anecdotally, I remember when the first trailer finally dropped online. I remember, and this is anecdotal, but we've heard this from several people. I got an email from one guy just saying, John, I'm the one true movie fan in my family, and I'm always trying to get my family to come to movies with me, and they never want to go. But when the Lion King trailer dropped, I started getting emails from my siblings and from whoever saying, we got to go see this. People who don't go to the movies are lining up to see this. It's going to, again, I don't think it's going to touch Endgame's opening record at all. But anyway, that brings us, guys, to today's question of the day. And my question of the day to you is simply this. The early tracking numbers are 150 million. Do you think, like I do, that it's going to come in way over that? Do you think it's going to come under that? I mean, we got to wait and see what the word of mouth is going to be. But I put that to you guys on Twitter. What do you think it's going to be? Right now, 1,500 of you have registered to vote. I put this on just before we started the show today. 1,505 votes are in. 77% of you believe this thing is going to come in over $150 million. 23% of you right now are thinking that might be a little bit too ambitious. It's going to come in a little bit under $150 million. I'm going to leave this poll up for the next couple of hours, guys, so you guys can go in there and register your vote and let us know what you think about that. So that is our question of the day. I'm voting over 150. Sounds like Erin is too. What do you guys think about that? Jump on down and leave your thoughts below. Okay, with that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our final main topic of the day. And our final main topic today gets submitted to us from Venice, who writes, "Greetings, John and crew. Just read in Variety that Sony is sitting out Comic-Con this year too. That makes Universal, Warner Brothers, and now Sony. Why do you think it is that so many major studios are not going to the biggest pop culture event of the year to promote their projects? It seems odd." All right. Thanks a lot for the message, Vinesh. And yeah, we've already known that Warner Brothers wasn't going, which I kind of think might be a little bit of a mistake. But we already knew that Universal wasn't going. And now Sony's announced that they're not going either. There's a couple of things and a couple of ways to look at this. Number one, is this a troubling trend? I had a friend of mine write to me and saying, these studios not going to Comic-Con. This is a troubling trend. I want to keep things in perspective here a little bit. Keep this in mind. We're only talking about Hall H presentations, because some people are worrying, because, when Marvel didn't go the one time or Warner Bros. Didn't go, no, does that mean everything's ending at Comic-Con? Even though Comic-Con's attendance keeps going up and up and up and up and up. You got to keep this in mind. These are Hall H presentations. Last year, about 200,000 people went to Comic-Con. Do you know how many people Hall H can hold? Hall H can hold 6,000. I won't make you do the math, but that's 3%. Only 3% of the people who go to Comic-Con were in Hall H when Marvel did their presentation, or when Warner Brothers did their presentation, or when Fox back in the X-Men days did their presentation. Only 3% of the people who were there got to see it anyway. One of the reasons I keep insisting they need to move Comic-Con out of San Diego, or at very least make Hall H the baseball stadium across the street at Petco Park, because that thing can hold like 50,000 people. Just make that Hall H anyway. So it's really only something that's going to affect 3% of the attendees, so it's not that big of a deal. That then does bring up the question, though, why? Why, Erin? Why would like a Sony and a Warner Brothers and Universal not bring? And I think there's a couple of answers to that. Number one, I think they realize it is just one event. But that one thing of marketing is it's a logistical nightmare. Mm-hmm. You're trying to get all these major superstars to break their schedules, fly them into San Diego, put them up in $5,000 a night hotels to be there to do a 45-minute panel. When really, it usually ends up being about 15 minutes because, Marvel have like an hour and a half block, but they're doing 5 different movies doing it. So it's really not all for that long. Secondly, we just talked about this recently, Erin, that Godzilla, has struggled at the box office since it came out. They dropped their first trailer for it a year ago at Comic-Con, had major buzz surrounding it, but it was too long ago. Mm-hmm. They blew their load too early, and the enthusiasm and the buzz eventually started to dissipate till they lost any benefit of it. What does Sony have coming out? Well, nothing except Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that would play well at Comic-Con, but can you get Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie and Leonardo DiCaprio and Quentin Tarantino? Can you get them all together to be there for that? Maybe that was going to be a problem. Maybe that was going to be a bit of a hassle, and that's why I assume they tried to probably get them together for that, and when they realized they couldn't, they pulled the trigger and said, well, we're just not going to have a Hall H this year, and they let everybody know. So I don't think it's, number one, that big of a deal for Comic-Con. I don't think it's that big of a deal for a studio like Sony. But again, it just gives Marvel all the spotlight this year at Comic-Con. And by the way, nothing is stopping these other studios, Erin, from dropping their own things online during Comic-Con that will still get a lot of attention. But it's going to be neat to see them getting Marvel's going to get all the spotlight this year, which I think they played on purpose, and they played it very well. Anyway, Erin, you hear about this because I know you and I met at Comic-Con.
We did.
That's where we first met.
Comic-Con 2009,
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. Woke up, said, who are you?
Wait, no. It was 2009.
It was 2009. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. That was 10 years. Mm-hmm. 10 years ago. Anyway, what do you think about this? Do you think, number one, for Comic-Con as a whole, do you think a studio like Sony, remember, they're not saying they're not going to have any presence there, just saying no Hall H presentation. And do you think maybe it hurts Sony at all to not do it? How do you see this?
No, I don't think it's a big deal at all, especially if they're still going to have a presence there. They're still going to have their huge booth, and they're going to have all their marketing materials, and everyone's going to know what's coming down the pipe for them.
And they may still do screenings as well.
Exactly. And I think that in the day of social media and with streaming and people being able to release things online, I just don't see it making that big of an impact. It is, like you said, a huge expense for the studio, a huge logistical problem. I can't see Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt being terribly excited about going to Comic-Con, to be honest. I feel like I just don't see them making it a priority. And also, I don't necessarily know if Once Upon a Time in Hollywood fits necessarily the Comic-Con mold so much. I just don't see it being that big of a deal. And I think that people who want to see those, want to support those projects, they absolutely will, but in a different way.
And it's funny because Quentin Tarantino did bring a film to Comic. They brought Django Unchained. I remember the year they did a big Django push. They had big tents outside in San Diego with all Django themed park and all this kind of stuff.
But do you think it made that big of a difference?
I think it did make a difference, but to your point, I think Django was more of a movie that was more suited to something like Comic-Con when you really look at Django as opposed to a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But who knows? I guess we'll have to wait and see. And by the way, why did we meet at Comic-Con? Because you were there promoting your film. You guys were there promoting your film Bitch Slap at the time.
And we were not in Hall H, and we were still okay.
And you were not in Hall H, and it still worked out for you. Guys, what do you think about this move by Sony? Now that we have Sony, Universal, Warner Brothers not going to be there, do you actually think that has any sort of an impact on Comic-Con as a whole? And do you think this might be a mistake on the part of something like Sony? Or do you really not think it matters that much? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what you think. All right, guys. With all of that out of the way, it's now time for us to go to our live questions. Now, this is normally the part of the show where we do our movie news feed. However, fact checker Jonathan, who puts together our movie news feeds, he is on a week-long vacation with his family. He'll be back next week. So we're just going to dive right in and go right into our live questions. And we're going to get started on our live questions with Tom Gillard, who writes, "Hey, Erin, second time's a charm," because he wrote this in yesterday.
I'm so sorry.
What's Mark Harmon like to work with? He is a badass. I am obsessed with NCIS. So that's a good question, Erin. What is? I've forgotten that you had a chance to work with Mark Harmon. What's working with Mark Harmon like?
Working with Mark Harmon was phenomenal. First of all, as you obviously know, because you're a big fan, he's not only the star of the show, but he's also the executive producer of the show. And one of the things that was very evident from the get-go, I was invited to do a table read, and not all procedurals 1-hour dramas have table reads. And I was told that comes straight from Mark, because he makes it mandatory for all the actors to attend the table read, because it gives everyone a chance to get together, sit down, and be a unit for once. Because otherwise, you're not always doing the same scenes together, and sometimes you can get very fractured. It really brings the cast together. Additionally, he and I had a chance to speak. I had my dog on set the first day when I was just doing some still photos, and he came in and he sat down and he chatted with me for about half an hour. And I asked him about the longevity of the show, and he said, I remember years ago when someone in the crew would say, I really hope we get a next season because, I'm hoping to buy a boat. And he said, and now we're going into season 17, and those same people not only have a boat, but they have a lake house, and they put their children through college. And that's one of the things that's so valuable when people talk about procedurals and they kind of groan and roll their eyes. That show has kept the entire crew of hundreds of people employed for 17 years and has allowed them to live the life of their dreams. And that came from Mark Harmon really running a tight ship and having just such passion for the show and being a beautiful example of leadership. I loved working with him, and I would love to work with him again.
All right, that's awesome. Hey, listen, you know what else? There was a question that came in for you yesterday. From one of our viewers who is about to go into getting a spinal surgery done to alleviate some other health problems he has. And he was mentioning that your story was really inspiring to him. Now, we just mentioned briefly the other day that you're a cancer survivor. And I remember finding out about your cancer diagnosis, and I believe it was just after your wedding. Was it not just after, like just post your wedding?
It was 2 months after my wedding.
2 months after your wedding that you found out about it. And now here you are today. And
also, little known fact, my husband was also diagnosed with a rare blood cancer about a month after my diagnosis. So we were both on chemo together our first year of marriage.
So it was a left-right combo, 1-2 punch right out of the gates. Yeah. And you guys survived it. And you've come out on the other side, and I just loved. We got to have you and your husband and your dog over here a while ago, which was so much fun.
Joey Bishop.
But if you had words for our viewer about the endurance to get through this, coming out the other side, what would you say to him? One
of the best pieces of advice that I received before my double mastectomy was, the healing takes as long as the healing takes. And this is true with anything, whether it's spinal surgery, which, first of all, I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. That is, I don't envy your position, and I send you lots of love and support. But whether it's spinal surgery or the flu, the healing takes as long as the healing takes, which means that if you try to rush the healing, if you don't allow your body to rest, if you don't take your medications, your pain medications to alleviate the discomfort, if you don't take care of yourself in a allow your body to heal in the way that it needs to, in the way that your doctors say that you should, the 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it may be, then something will happen that'll lay you on your back again, and you'll end up getting knocked out. The healing will take its time. So don't try to rush back in. You're not on anybody's timeline but your own, and you do no one a service by rushing your recovery. Take the time that you need, and then that way, when you get back to whatever it is that you normally do, you'll be able to go back and go full force into that. Another thing, I highly recommend downloading the Calm app, CALM. Tamara Levitt runs that, and she does a daily calm that I actually listen to during my acupuncture appointments, and whenever I need a little bit of a wind down. Every day it's a new beautiful meditation that's really helpful. And if you send John your address, I'm going to send you my favorite book. It's called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. And even though it gets a little, religious and preachy towards the end, overall it's a phenomenal book. And if you get a chance to read it during your recovery, I think that it'll give you a lot of inspiration. So send John your address, and I will send you an autographed copy from me as my gift to you on your journey to recovery.
Oh, thanks for that, Erin. Okay, let's move on now here. Godzilla's Massive Schlong writes, always wondered, how does Xenomorph see? I think I heard a discussion about that once, because they don't have invisible eyes, but there are other animals in the animal kingdom in our real world that can't see either, and they completely have other senses that they do. So I just always kind of assume Godzilla that's how Xenomorphs see. Donaldo Martinez writes, fun fact, did you know Bear McCreary, composer of Roland D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica, composed last year's God of War? I did not know that. Of course, Battlestar Galactica is my number one all-time favorite TV show. Roland D. Moore's one. I love that. But God of War, which actually won Game of the Year last year, fabulous game, fabulous story, fabulous narration through it. And the music in it is great. So I did not know that, Donaldo. Thanks for sharing that, dude. It's good to know that. All right, Draco Arias writes, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Spider-Man movie. It did a lot right, in my opinion. The score, acting, tone. Would have liked to have seen the series continue had it had a profound impact on me. Well, here, Draco, is a great example of the subjectivity of film. A lot of us didn't really like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I love The Amazing Spider-Man 1 with Andrew Garfield. And I don't think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield was a total train wreck, like a lot of people seem to think it is. But I also thought it was a big step down from part one. However, that is why I always say the most beautiful thing about movies is the pure subjectivity of it. You watched it and it had a different impact on you than it had on me. And that's a wonderful thing. And I'm glad you had that, man. And I'm glad you enjoyed it, because some movies like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 need somebody to stand up for it. Actually, Erin, I don't know. Did you even ever see The Amazing Spider-Man 2? No. No, you're not missing anything.
There's spiders in it.
Okay, oh, that's right.
You
That's
have to tell that story, John.
Okay, so true story. Me and Erin, Erin and I were hanging out, and I was like, hey, by the way, I just started talking about the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The animated film, Spider-Man.
Which also, I didn't know that it was animated. When it first started, I thought, oh, that's cute. There's a cartoon beginning.
Yeah, nope.
When are the actors going to come on?
I guess I didn't even mention. So I'm like, wait a minute, you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, because you guys know it's my number 3 favorite film of the year last year. So I'm like, what are you doing tomorrow night or Thursday? Whatever. A few nights later, I said, let's go see it. So Erin and I go to see it.
John puts an excessive amount of popcorn,
butter on my popcorn.
Popcorn on his butter.
Of course I do. And Erin says to me, now, this may be a dumb question, because I know it's Spider-Man, but like, are there spiders in the film? I'm like, actually, not really, no. Oh, I thought, well, there's like one scene, a little animated spider. She's like, no, you don't understand. I can't handle spiders. And I'm thinking she's just being funny. Or facetious a little bit. So we're sitting in the theater, and that scene in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse comes up where the little animated cartoon spider comes out.
Huge spider with eyes in the camera like this. No.
I thought
it was massive.
I thought she was going to rip my arteries out. She's turning
I thought that my arteries were going to, I thought my body was going to fold outside of itself, and all of my arteries were going to fall on the floor. I wanted to jump out of my skin.
Yeah, and
it was ferocious. That's not even a word, but I don't care. That's how I felt.
So I have learned my lesson. Whenever I take Erin to another movie, make sure first there's no actual spiders in it, even if It's a cartoon.
No, I can't look at a picture of one. I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's funny.
How did you do a Shelob in Lord of the Rings, the giant spider that they had to face? You don't want to talk about it. Okay, we'll just move on from that.
Well, I don't think you're going to like the answer that I have to give you.
Okay, well, in that case, we will move on.
I didn't see Lord of the Rings.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. What?
I read the books in junior high.
I know you read the books. We've talked about that before, but you didn't actually watch the movies?
I didn't. Their feet freak me out.
Did you just
They're
say
little, like,
their
hairy
feet
hobbit
freak
feet.
you out?
Yeah, just
their feet freak you out.
I don't know if I want to watch all that.
Okay, you know what?
Okay, is that going to be another movie night? Just so you guys know, the very first time that I came on John's show, because we're friends. Like, he didn't invite me because I have this encyclopedic knowledge of film. He invited me because we're friends, and he's like, I like having an actor's perspective. And so after the first time I came on the show, he goes, if you're gonna get back on my show, you gotta watch some more movies.
Well, and so specifically, you got to get caught up on the MCU movies because you had seen a few, but you hadn't seen.
I hadn't seen all of them. So he gave me a literal viewing list and said, once you see these movies, then you can come back on the show. And so I watched all the movies, which was great because my husband Tom is a big fan of MCU, so he got to rewatch a lot of them. And then we had movie nights.
Yeah, Tom asked me, like, how come you can get her to watch these and I can't?
I know. Yeah. There's a lot of movies that I'm very embarrassed. I will not tell you that I haven't seen. But I would be willing to watch it, but I would have to.
You gotta watch Lord of the Rings.
Okay, I'll watch it at your house where I can have a bathroom break. Because that's another thing. I can't sit through a 3-hour movie.
Right. Well, I mean, I think at a house you probably can.
At a house, I definitely can. I'd be like,
pee break. Make you watch the Shelob scene.
Well, you would just have to like tap me, and then I would hold my eyes and my ears because they make sounds. Spiders make those.
Oh, and Shelob makes some.
Yeah, I can't. We'd have to mute it, and then I'd be like la 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 la, and then you'd have to let me know. That's the only way I could watch it. So I could never see that in the theater. Never.
All right. Well, let's set it up because I was just mentioning on the show the other day that it's been over a year since I've watched the Lord of the Rings film, so I'm due for another.
Let's do it, and I'm due for another date night with John and Ann.
All right. Let's move on here. Der Wunderbar writes, if Erin is there, here she is. Welcome back. Too bad you overslept the other day.
I know.
But these things happen, c'est la vie. The audience was very understanding, but they were very disappointed that you couldn't be here the other day.
Thank you so much. And I did post an apology video on my Instagram story yesterday. So if you missed it, then head over to @Erin L. Cummings on Instagram, and it should still be up for another couple of hours. But I deeply apologize. Mea culpa. It will never happen again.
All right. We move on now. Der Wunderbar writes again, I will definitely watch Joker. Joaquin Phoenix is bound to be a great Joker. Look, whether the script is good, I don't know. Whether the movie will turn out to be good, I don't know. But the one thing we know going into this movie, Joaquin Phoenix will bring it because that's all he does. It's a reflex. It's as natural to him as breathing. He will bring a great performance of that, of no doubt. Samuel C137 writes, in Atlanta, the closest theater to me is the massive Regal Atlantic Station. It is still to this day an awful experience. Only IMAX has reserved seating. Concessions take hours. Oh, that's terrible. Hours. 2 of 2. It's so bad. I regularly go out of my way to AMC. It's a long way of saying that there's nothing Regal can do to get me to leave A-list. So what we were talking about the other day is that, of course, the greatest thing to ever happen to movie fans is AMC A-list. $22 a month, 3 movies a week, IMAX, AMC Prime, any format. For 20, understanding that my local AMC theater, for me to get one ticket to a Prime movie is $25 almost. So I pay $22 a month and I get to use to see over 12 movies a month. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. We've known that Regal has their own thing coming. It seems like details are leaking out about it now. They're going to have 3 different tiers, and it also sounds like a great plan. Doesn't sound quite as good as AMC's to me, but it's a great plan for those of you who don't live near an AMC. It's unfortunate that your particular theater, Regal, that's close to you has been bad experiences for you. That really is unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. I've never really been to a lot of Regal theaters because when I've been, first of all, we don't have Regal theaters in Canada. And whenever I've been here down in the States, I lived right beside an ArcLight theater, and now I live right beside an AMC theater. So I've only been to a Regal theater a couple times. So I have no positive or negative feelings about Regal as a theater. I have none whatsoever. But I'm sorry to hear you say that. But hey, it might make it worth your while if you could get in for free because you get their membership plan. Keep an open mind about that. Just see what their plan actually ends up being and then maybe act on that, Samuel. But I feel bad for you, dude. All right. Der Wunderbar writes, saw Apollo 11 yesterday. Loved it. Well-crafted documentary. A lot of you guys, including Robert, are telling me I need to see that documentary. I Know very little about it other than what you guys have been raving about it. I got to get that thing on my watch list. DC Patience writes, "Hi, John. How did the interviews go yesterday?" The interviews went... You guys know I hate doing interviews. Erin knows this too. I hate it. I hate it so much. But I got to say, I met some wonderful people yesterday. Some wonderful people came in to interview. We had over like 400 applications come in.
Wow.
I did about 17 interviews yesterday.
And
it's a lot. But I came across some really wonderful people, and I will keep you guys updated as we move along in that process about how that's going. Dervunderbar writes again, Sean Pertwee did a badass Alfred in Gotham. That's the kind of Alfred Andy absolutely could and should portray if that's the part he gets. You know what? I'm not a big fan of that TV show Gotham. Erin, I don't know if you've ever seen it. I haven't seen the final season, but it's a little bit of a hit and miss show to me.
I haven't. I heard it was really good out the gate, but like what happens with many shows, a lot of times writers change, showrunners change, or they'll pull back some of the budget, and the show isn't as good in later seasons, and that's kind of the impression that I got from Gotham.
Yeah, to me, it was always hit and miss, and then it started to lose me a little bit towards the end. But one of the things I got to say to Wunderbar that I think was consistently good was, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing Sean Pertwee's name, but was the guy playing Alfred. It was a great Alfred, and you're absolutely right. See, I mentioned the other day that Andy Serkis, who there are rumors he might be in the next Batman film. Put him as anything, that's great. But as an Alfred, as an edgier, after seeing him play Claw in Black Panther, I think an Alfred would be a great role for him for that type. But it all depends. Look, if the script calls for a 78-year-old, more fragile Alfred, then obviously Andy Serkis isn't the right guy for that. But if you want to go for a little bit more of a Gotham Alfred, maybe even just a touch younger, I think that could work really well. So I don't know. We'll have to see. All right. Jack Humphreys writes, could you imagine if Far From Home post-credit scene brought back J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson? I would love that. Look, I have always said this, Erin. I believe that when you reboot a franchise, you reboot. You don't bring back one actor, two actors. No, if you're rebooting, you reboot.
You start fresh.
I've always said there were only two possible exceptions to me. One, James Earl Jones as Mufasa.
Yes, obviously.
Which they're doing that. And number two, J.K. Simmons, Academy Award-winning actor J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Of course, he was as J. Jonah in the original Spider-Man films. I always believe reboot, recast. But I would totally make an exception for J.K. Simmons.
Well, I think there's also a nice touch to give like a little nugget to the original viewers.
Yes.
Something that gives them a little, oh yeah, okay. It's not a complete departure. There's just one little nugget for people. I do like that.
I just don't want it to start a slippery slope where then some fans go, well, if you're bringing him back, bring back Andrew Garfield and bring back Tobey Maguire.
Right, exactly.
Just one-time exception. I would make a one-time exception for that, Jack. Absolutely, I would. Samuel C. writes, is Regal a good experience anywhere? Their quality control is frankly embarrassing in my experience. Again, look, I have worked with AMC theaters in the past, but I do not now. So I have no dog in this hunt whatsoever. I just haven't had an experience at Regal Cinema. So I just don't know. I've never had a bad one. I was at a Regal theater in Nashville, and it was a perfectly nice experience. There's a Regal, what's the one downtown they do a number of premieres at? The big Regal that's down near the Staples Center.
Anyway, I have no idea.
There's this big Regal Cinema right downtown by the Staples Center that you can see from the highway, and it's multi-floors and all this kind of stuff.
I have not been there, and I haven't been to a premiere there.
I've been there twice for two premieres. I was there for the premiere of Jason Momoa's Conan movie. I was there for the premiere of that, and I was there for the premiere of Henry Cavill's Immortals. Immortals, I think that was the name of it. Perfectly good experience for me, to be honest with you. Perfectly good experience.
How are the lines for the concession?
I don't, you know what? It was
they don't have it. I know they don't do a tradition. Yeah, I'm
Although
kidding.
I do remember being there, it was the first time I was at an event that I thought that I really very real felt the feeling that Anne might not be coming home with me tonight, because we bumped into Jason Momoa at it, and he, grabbed her by the arm and said, "I'm so sorry, miss." And I saw the look on her face, and I'm like, she may not be coming home with me tonight. And I don't know that I could blame her. At any rate, so I have never had a bad experience myself at a Regal, so I don't want to say anything, but that's really unfortunate. I always hate hearing people having bad experiences at theaters. Wunderbar writes in again, I didn't like Robert Pattinson being cast as Batman in the beginning, but remembering where I have seen him before, therefore I'm willing to give him a chance, which is all we can ask. That's all we can ask of ourselves as film fans. I get it. If you are one of the many people, because a lot of people don't watch the small indie films. And if you're one of the many people that when you think of Robert Pattinson, the only thing you know you've seen him in is in Twilight, I get it. I get the apprehension about that. But the fact of the matter is he's done like 7 films since where he is just flat out phenomenal in all of them. There is a reason Christopher Nolan has cast him as one of his stars in his next film. And there's a reason the studio and Matt Reeves have wanted him in as the new Batman. And look, is it the first thing that would have come to my head? Absolutely not. But when they said it's going to be him, I thought, well, you know what? The guy's an effing great actor. So I'm on board. Did you have any sort of reaction when you heard, Erin, that Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman? I mean, it's a strange thought to hear it
My
at first,
initial,
right?
I recoiled initially because my first impulse is, oh, the guy from Twilight? Seriously?
Sure.
But again, going back to what you just said, Christopher Nolan does not make casting mistakes. And I have heard many times that the real work for a director is in casting. If you cast the right actors, your work on set is not as challenging. And so for Christopher Nolan to put his faith in Robert Pattinson, I think that obviously he knows something that I don't, and I trust Christopher Nolan with that decision. So I'm very intrigued and interested, and I'm going to give him a chance too.
Yeah, and I think all we as fans can do, guys, Der Wunderbar, is to go, hey, you know, I don't know this other stuff, but I'll give it a benefit of the doubt until I see it. And maybe we see it and he'll be terrible. Or maybe we'll see he'll be great. But that's all we can do is to say, hey, maybe I'm not excited about it, but I'll at least give it a chance. All right, KW Garrett 83 writes, on last Sunday's open mic, you went on a 2-minute segue about why you don't fold your laundry. My girlfriend and I nearly died from laughter as we watched. So basically, Erin,
what do you mean you don't fold your laundry?
I don't fold my laundry.
You just throw it in the closet?
Yep.
No, you don't.
Oh, I do.
John, that's gross. How do you know?
How's it gross? It's clean.
But you're throwing it like all on top of each other, and like, what if something crawls in there?
So what I do, it's really funny because on
like, what if you pick it up
day,
and there's a spider underneath something?
I kid you not. This is 100% true. Ann and I generally both do our laundry on Sundays, right?
Okay, it's a good day for laundry.
And Ann, it's so funny because on both sides of the bed, they're
Wait,
totally
hold on. Did you
stories.
say Ann and you both do your laundry? Do you guys do separate laundry?
Yes. We do our laundry at separate times. So we keep our dirty laundry separate because sometimes she needs to do laundry when I don't have anything that needs to be done and vice versa. So
why don't you just all throw your laundry into the same thing?
Well, we got too much laundry. We couldn't be fitted in. So it's got to be done in multiple loads.
How much clothes do you wear? You're naked from the waist down right now. I'm kidding. He's not. But is he?
You'll never know. That's the mystery. So it's funny when you come into our bedroom and on laundry day, there are 2 different stories being told on each side of the bed. On Ann's side, she folds her underwear. She meticulously folds everything. Me, here's what I do. I bring my laundry, because I drag all my laundry out of the dryer, throw it in the laundry hamper so I can roll it back into my bedroom. And I start pulling
hold on.
things off.
So you take your clean clothes and you put them back in the hamper that was holding all of your dirty clothes.
Yes, I do.
So any like sweat or debris or like... Okay.
As God intended. So I bring it into my thing. And by the way, I have one of those washable, like I do wash my actual laundry hamper every once in a while.
I'm calling shenanigans on that.
And no, it's true. It's true. I can show it to you. So I bring in my laundry hamper filled with all my clean clothes, and I literally just socks and underwear, I pull out and I throw them into a pile over here by my pillow.
But do you put the pairs together first?
I will put my sock pairs together, only because I'm lazy and I don't want to hunt for them later.
Well, at least that's some level of civilized.
Put my socks together. So I just throw everything over there. Button-up shirts, I immediately pull out of the dryer and just put on hangers because I do not iron them. I do not steam them. And that's the only time I can get them to hang when they're relatively not terribly wrinkled. So I'll just hang them up immediately.
That's
T-shirts I throw over there. And I'll do one fold just so they fit into my drawer. But that's about it. So other than that, and I'll tell you what, this is 100% true, Erin. If you don't believe me, I'll show you later. We did our laundry on Sunday.
Okay, today's Friday.
My clean laundry is still in the hamper. I haven't pulled my clean laundry out of the hamper yet.
Okay, so then where's your dirty laundry?
My dirty laundry right now.
You better not say on the floor.
It's on the floor. My dirty laundry right now is on the floor. It's
John.
on the floor beside my bed.
John, I'm not even allowed to do laundry in my home, and I don't do that. Yeah, Tom has banned me from doing laundry because the number of times that I have put our colors on sanitize, which is like the high heat 2-hour wash cycle, and then he will come home and flip out, and he's like, "Oh my God, you can't put colors on hot. Why not?" I don't know.
I've never once separated color from whites and blacks.
We do that when I built my closet out, and so that was one big thing that in my laundry drawer is I have a section for like the lights and the whites, and then the section for the colors. But I know people that literally will separate it into washing their blues all together and washing their reds all together. That's a little laundry crazy.
I can't do that. I can't do that. But that's my laundry stories guy, and
I Marie Kondo fold everything.
I can't do it. I just don't care. All right, moving on here. Sorry about that laundry talk, ladies and gentlemen. DC Patience writes, do you play any good mobile iOS games? Well, I do play a couple of games that I play quite regularly on my mobile, but I am an Android guy. I graduated away from iPhones years ago, but there's many games that you can play on both Apple and iPhone. One is called Raiders. I like that one a lot. I actually play a Yahtzee game that I can play. Aiden and I will play like a multiplayer Yahtzee game. So yeah, there's a few mobile. I like to play mobile Risk. I like playing Risk on my mobile. So yeah, I play games like that. I enjoy them. Jaron Morris writes, over under 35% chance since Death is returning in the last season of Supernatural, he keeps his promise and reaps God. I think he probably will. Again, I hate that whole thing they're doing on Supernatural with the turn they made with Chuck. I do not like what they did with Chuck. It makes me really apprehensive. The season finale of season 14 is the only episode of Supernatural in all 14 seasons that I've straight up disliked. And I'm very nervous to see what they're going to do with that. But I'm going to take an over 35% on that, Jaron. I think there's an over 35%. Dervunderbar writes, I gotta go, Julia. We got cows. Melissa and Twister. That was a great line in that. Luke1234 writes, August 8th, Weird Al, Pacific Amphitheater. You're going? Damn right. Got my tickets already. Got my tickets for that Weird Al concert. One of the most fun concerts Ann and I have ever been to was going to see Weird Al at the Greek Theater in LA. We went to see him in the Greek Theater. It was a great concert. I loved it. Luis Blanco writes, wasn't planning on seeing Chernobyl because I'm a cheapskate and I don't pay for HBO, but I saw the first episode for free on Apple TV. I'm hooked. Now listen, Erin, I can tell you right now, there are no spiders in Chernobyl.
I've seen Chernobyl.
You've seen Chernobyl.
Every Monday night, that was our thing. I saw it when it came out, the second it came out. Oh, we were just talking about it last night with some friends. It's phenomenal. People must watch it.
It's amazing. And there are a lot of people just saying, just hand them all the Emmys right now.
Well, and also, if you're not a nuclear physicist and you don't understand exactly what's going on and a lot of the science talk, don't worry, because in the final episode, it will be explained to you in the courtroom. But I have to interject really quick, because speaking of HBO and speaking of all the Emmys, one of the interesting things that I have discovered over the last several weeks is that every black and brown person that I have spoken to has said, yes, I have seen it, my family has seen it, and I love it. And every white person that I have spoken to said, I haven't even heard of that. And it's called When They See Us by Ava DuVernay about the Central Park Five. It is phenomenal. Niecy Nash deserves all the awards. Her performance in the fourth, it's in 4 parts. And if you're not familiar with the story about the 5 little boys who were wrongly accused of brutally raping a white woman in Central Park in the 90s. There were 5 black boys. One of them was legally an adult. He was 16, so he was sent immediately to Rikers. Most of them hadn't even had their first kiss yet. They were 14 years old, and their childhoods were destroyed. Donald Trump actually famously took out a full-page ad in the New York Times asking for their execution. They were later exonerated when the real person came forward and DNA evidence matched him to the crime, and they were awarded for the fact that they lost their entire childhood. It is brilliant filmmaking. Everyone, this is a must watch. Ava DuVernay is an incredible director, and if you're watching Chernobyl and you're watching Fleabag, but you're not watching When They See Us,
Fleabag yet. I gotta try.
Fleabag's great, but you must, everyone must be watching it, because not only is it incredible filmmaking with some of the most beautiful performances I've ever seen on the small or the big screen, it's also really important story that's still happening today that everyone needs to be very aware of.
And I did see it. I was a little bit late to it. I didn't see it in the first week it came out, but I got caught up on it, and it's really good. We talked about it on the show a few times. All right, next up, John, where are we at here? John, have you seen the video of Khabib boxing a lion, a teenage lion. It swipes at him, he ducks, and he just slaps you. You gotta go. I have not seen that. I've seen the one where his dad makes him fight a bear, where Khabib's dad makes him fight her. Look, Khabib is simply the baddest man on the planet. There's nobody who can, pound for pound, you can have your John Bones Jones, you can have your Daniel Cormiers, you can have whoever you want. Khabib is the baddest man on the planet, pound for pound, all right? There is nobody on this planet, pound for pound, that can beat him. Now look, he might lose because we've seen George St. Pierre lost to Matt Serra. Anybody can get in a lucky punch, anybody can lose on any given day. And Khabib might lose someday. But I'm just telling you straight up, my money would always be, you could have Khabib against an elephant, and I'm putting my money on Khabib. But I got to go see that because I absolutely have to see that one. All right, next up, Rodrigo Ortiz writes, have you seen Peanut Butter Falcon trailer with Shia LaBeouf? No, I still have not seen it. Everybody's saying, have you seen this trailer yet? I have not. Have you seen this Peanut Butter Falcon? Neither have I. I got to check it out at some point. Fanjecture, one of the sponsors of the John Campea Show, by the way. Fanjecture writes, Lion King over under Beauty and the Beast opening weekend of 174 million. I'm taking the over on that.
Over, clearly.
Yeah. I'm going to take the over on that. Again, the tracking's 150, but that's because there's no buzz yet. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you. Now, look, there is a scenario here where people come out going, well, that wasn't as good as we were hoping it would be.
No.
And then that's fine. Then maybe 150 is the number. But if it's anywhere near as good as we think it's going to be, I think it's going to, I think we're talking
the trailer alone, there's no way that it's going to be bad. There's no way. I don't buy it. I mean, we know the story. The story is phenomenal. We know the songs are brilliant. We know the characters are all really fully developed, and the trailer looks really good, so we know that the production value is quality. This is not going to be a bad movie. And
we just saw what Jon Favreau did with Jungle Book, which was so good.
Yeah.
And that was nearly $1 billion film. For the Jungle Book, for heaven's sakes. It's just, so I'm going to take, Fanjecture, I'm going to take the over on that one. I'm going to take the over. All right, Curtis Lopez writes, unfortunately, I think I got something spoiled from Far From Home for me, but if this spoiler is true, sweet baby Jesus, I'm excited. I know I am so stoked to see it. I've got my tickets for Tuesday. Me and Ann are going to go see it early on the day on Tuesday. I cannot wait, but I'm really trying hard to stay spoiler-free. I normally don't care about spoilers, but I got to admit, for this one, I'm trying to stay spoiler-free, so here's hoping. Darth Impact writes, I think the MCU should intro the Sentry in Phase 4. Marvel Superman would make a great addition with Darkseid called the Void. He'd be complexed. Here's the problem with that, Dark Impact, and I'll say this. One of the problems I think that they're going to start having is everybody is now godlike powered. Like, we got Thanos. Thor has now been amped up to 10. We've got Scarlet Witch, who came out of nowhere and start whooping ass. You know, like one of my favorite lines in Endgame was when Thanos says to Scarlet Witch, I don't even know who you are. And she looks at him, she goes, You're about to. You will.
You will, yeah.
It's like, there was a sinister tone in the way she said that. You got Captain Marvel now, who's got God level power. You've got they've gotten so many characters now who are all apex 10 out of 10 power levels that introducing another one seems to me to be a little bit problematic. Maybe it's something they'll do, maybe it won't, but I'd be nervous about that, Darth Impact, too, just to be honest with you.
That's why Ant-Man is so refreshing.
Yes!
Because Ant-Man comes around, he's like, hey, I'm just a little guy.
I turn small.
What's up? This is what I can do.
The other thing that
it's a nice, refreshing, like, it's a palate cleanser.
Yes.
To all that power.
Yes. And not just for, as a character, is he a palate cleanser? I love it that, like, the first Ant-Man movie was about a guy really just trying to save his family and keep his family together. Like, you can't make every movie save the universe, save the universe, save the universe, save the universe. You've got to throw in and change gears once in a while with a movie like, like with Spider-Man Homecoming. Mm-hmm. You got to move where the stakes are different. You got to throw in a movie like an Ant-Man where the stakes are different.
Because it makes it more relatable as an audience member. Like,
yes.
I, Erin Cummings, am probably not going to save the universe anytime soon from destruction. However, I, Erin Cummings, totally understand what it's like to feel like my family might be in danger and feel helpless and feel like I want to have some sort of superpower that could rise above my family's endangerment. That's something that's really relatable to an audience.
Right. And look, I've always said, I'm not interested in either with the Avengers group. I love Hawkeye and I love Black Widow, but I've never been interested in a solo movie with Hawkeye and Black Widow. But I will say this, with the new Black Widow movie coming out, I still don't know how interested I am just because I've never been interested in those two. But it does work towards that again, right? It's not somebody with godlike power. It's just a regular human being with exceptional skills, and that could be a good change of gears as well. So I have to keep my eyes open for that. All right. JB Bonifacio writes, in my 30s, but thinking about the prospect of having Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie in the Marvel's film, that's going to be the Eternals that they're talking about, has me going through a second puberty. Yeah, I mean, look, there's something exciting about the idea. First of all, you get talent levels, you're getting this name power. Angelina Jolie, when I heard her name going to be in the Eternals, it's like, I never would have thought she would do a film like this. I think it's pretty cool that she is. Now, we haven't gotten any official word from Marvel yet on what the real final lineup is going to be. But if it does involve some of these names, and Keanu Reeves, his name's been floated around for it as well. Again, good Canadian kid.
Great Canadian kid. I think he really gives all Canadians a good name.
He does. And by the way, have you seen? I don't know if you and I have talked about it yet, Erin. Have you seen his Netflix movie "Always Be My Maybe"?
No.
With Ali Wong.
No.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I'll watch it today.
It's a light. Just simple, light little rom-com.
Okay.
And he's not a main character in it. And
I'll see anything that he's in. I mean, when he was in,
when
I found out that was him in Toy Story 4, oh my gosh, as Kaboom. I mean, because I was like, I know that voice. And Kaboom is so endearing. And then when I found out it was Keanu Reeves, I said, of course it's Keanu.
Of course it's Keanu Reeves.
Yes, and I'm excited to see Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie together as well. Not because I need to go through a second puberty, but because they're both phenomenal actresses, and they're also at a point in their career where, as women, I think they're going to bring a gravitas and a depth that's going to be exciting. I'm actually not surprised that Angelina is making this choice because let's not forget, she did Maleficent because of her daughter. She wanted one of her daughters. I don't remember which one. But I am not surprised that given that her kids are now all teenagers or preteens, that maybe she wants to do something that would be exciting for them. It's not uncommon for an actor to make a film choice based on what their children would want to see them do.
I talked to Anthony Hopkins, and when he was when the first Thor movie was coming out, he says, my grandchildren want to see Grandpa and something like this. It's like, there you go.
Totally.
That would be a strong motivator. Chris Feldman writes, do you enjoy Inside the Actor Studio? Harrison Ford's episode showed me that as much as we love characters, to actors sometimes they are simply jobs. So I remember this one time, I was talking to Michael Douglas. You guys remember the day I left Robert De Niro hanging. That's one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. But I was talking to Michael Douglas and I said, what was it about Last Vegas was the movie I was talking to him about. What was it that brought you into this? He goes, well, people need to realize that first and foremost, I am an actor for hire. Mm-hmm. It is my profession. It is my job. I love doing my job, whether it's in a Shakespeare or whatever. I'm an actor for hire and I enjoy my job. And yeah, like Harrison Ford kind of approached that too. I've only ever seen a couple of episodes of Inside the Actor Studio. I always enjoyed what I saw, but I never watched it regularly. Did you, Erin?
I have watched it. I mean, I haven't seen every episode, of course, but anytime that I have a chance to watch it, I always find it fascinating because you learn something new about not necessarily that particular actor, but about maybe their process. Or they pull back the curtain just a little bit on this industry that is so fascinating. It has a lot of secrets.
I remember I think the last one I saw which was just hilarious. It was he had in the voice cast of The Simpsons.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That was a great one. I enjoyed that one a lot. All right, Benny95 writes, I've had it with this mother effing eye patch being on the wrong mother effing eye. Samuel L. Jackson 2019. I still think that's hilarious. And it's funny how many conspiracy theories have jumped up that in the comic book, Spider-Man realizes that Nick Fury's a fake Nick Fury because he had the eye patch on the wrong eye, and this is all building into that. I don't know about that, but maybe, who knows? DC Patience writes, what do you do when popcorn and soda gets boring? What? DC, you take that back. That's like saying, what's it like when getting BJ gets boring? It doesn't. Popcorn and soda at the movie theaters is not boring.
And there's pretzels, and there's nachos, and there's Twizzlers, and there's M&Ms. There's all sorts of fun, disgusting things that you can die from.
When I walk through the doors of a movie theater, I never eat popcorn, by the way, anywhere. I don't eat popcorn. But when I walk through the doors of a movie theater, it is a Pavlovian response to me. The bell rings, my mouth starts to water. I walk through movie theater doors, I instantly get the urge for popcorn. I gotta have popcorn and soda. It never gets boring to me. It never will be. How dare you, DC?
And watching John butter his popcorn is not only a work of art, it is also vomit-inducing.
Butter.
It's popcorn. It is an aggressive, yeah. And I think that I posted the Instagram video of like your process with the straw.
Oh my God. And listen,
it's a process.
Popcorn is a butter delivery device. That's all popcorn is. It is a device made to help shuttle the deliciousness of butter into my mouth.
I put no butter on my popcorn.
I know. This is.
It's already got enough butter.
What's that?
It's already got enough butter. I'm a purist.
I mean, I know. It's true, but I do love butter so much. All right. Kevin Lewis writes, so Erin, is GC an outie or an innie?
Who is JC? I don't know who JC... Jesus Christ. Oh, John... well, I said that he was naked from the waist down. So I would guess he's an outie then?
I'm actually an innie.
Oh, you're an innie.
I'm an innie. I am an innie indeed. You too.
Sorry, JC. How could I not know who JC? I was looking at that. I was like, who is JC? Who is JC? I'm like scratching my head. Oh, okay. Hello, it's right in front of me.
Louise Dodson writes, gonna start a podcast soon covering sports and pop culture. Any advice? Listen, the best thing I can tell you, Louise, is I did a 2-hour video like 5 or 6 years ago, but it's still relevant, called Getting Started in YouTubing, Podcasting, Blogging, stuff like that. Just go to YouTube, search John Campea Getting Started, and it should be the very first video that pops up. It's like 2 hours long. I'm gonna update it someday to more modern context, but all the stuff is in there. Go and check that out. Clay Woodley writes, over under 40%, Hobbs and Shaw becomes the second biggest film in the Fast franchise domestically. Ooh, because it's with, here's the tricky part. It's without all the other Fast and Furious characters. But Dwayne The Rock Johnson is the franchise Viagra that took Fast and Furious from a $300 million franchise to an $800 billion franchise. For it to be the second biggest in the franchise without the rest of the cast.
Without Vin Diesel.
Yeah, without Vin Diesel.
I don't know about that.
But
the trailer's so good, though.
So good. It's so good. You know what? I will not say 70%, but I'll take the over on 40%. Mm-hmm. I'll take 40 is a little low, so I'll take the over on 40. And you're not asking like biggest in the franchise, so I'll take over 40. What about you, Erin?
Yeah, I would say just over, because it is a complicated thing. I mean, I really think that Vin Diesel he's gold for the franchise. At the same time, man, that trailer's so good. So, and also I think once once buzz really starts getting out, if the buzz is hot, I think it has some wings.
Yeah. All right. Next one up. Jacob Silvers writes, hey, John, I started reading this book series called House of Darkness, House of Light. It's written by Andrea Perron. One of the kids from the first Conjuring it's a great book so far. One of the kids from the Conjuring wrote the books. And I've never even heard of this series before, Jay, but that sounds fascinating to me. Have you ever heard of these books, Erin?
No, I haven't, but I'm really interested and excited about that. Especially, I think that actors... a young actor could make a really good writer, because actors, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, the way that I would read books is I would be every character in the book. And I don't necessarily read books the same way anymore, but I think that having that a young person with that has all those really yummy creative juices flowing, I would be excited to read those books myself.
All right. Jacob follows up with, the book tells a true story of The Conjuring, or at least, the real people involved. How true the story of The Conjuring is up for debate. Kevin Lewis writes, Jessica Jones went out on a whimper, not a bang. Sad. I'll be honest with you, I never liked the Jessica Jones series. While the Netflix Marvel series, Daredevil, Punisher. By the way, guys, I'm watching Punisher season 2. I'm on episode 5. I'm loving it so far. Punisher, Daredevil, fan-freaking-tastic. But Luke Cage, not so great. Iron Fist, not good at all. And I did not like Jessica Jones.
What didn't you like about Jessica Jones?
It was boring. I
Wow.
I found the character to be completely, I could not get into the character. There wasn't anything likable about the lead character.
Oh, wow.
I mean, what they did a great job was to me was creating an empathy with the audience for the horrific stuff that she went through. Mm-hmm. But I felt like outside of that premise, they didn't capitalize on it. I felt like there were things they could have done, and they didn't. And the biggest turnoff for me was by the end of season 1, after she'd been through this huge journey of her character, at the last scene the movie showed, she was still exactly the same. She was right back to being the exact same Jessica Jones. You remember that last scene? She's sitting in her office. She's got the guy with her now, and she's having the conversations and the attitudes that were the exact same that she was having in episode 1 of it. And I thought, so what's
the point?
This hasn't changed her?
Why have we even been watching any of this?
So then I tried season 2, and I thought season 2 started off better, but then, because everybody's saying, season 2 isn't that good. And I'm like, this is actually, I think this is better than season 1. But then it really did tail off and kind of it meandered
And do you
a bit.
think that is more from a writing perspective, or is that also the actor not having the...
I think it's a writing perspective. And they had this great character with her quasi-adopted sister, and then I felt like they just flushed her potential away as well. They had a great villain for season 1, and I felt like they squandered the villain a little bit. They did... I don't know. It was just me. I know a lot of people, though, that loved Jessica Jones. And I know people that loved Luke Cage and people that liked Iron Fist as well. But it's just those shows for me didn't quite do it. So Netflix for me with their series were a little bit hit and miss.
Sure.
A little bit hit and miss. So I'm not, and I didn't even bother watching season 3, to be honest with you. I tapped out on it. So I haven't bothered watching it. Murray Reich writes, personally, I would rather just experience any shocking surprises from episode 9, whether our characters survive or not. I like going in without expectations. Oh, I agree. It's good to go in without expectations. Look, I fan theorize about every movie going into, but I don't know if any of them are true, so they don't really have any weight for me personally, but I totally get where you're coming from on that, Murray. Murray follows up with, do you think Sam and Dean would like Lucifer from the Lucifer show? I think Sam would like Lucifer, Tom Ellis's Lucifer from the show. I think Dean would be instantly suspicious of him and then grow to become friends with him, much like he became friends with Crowley. By the way, Erin, I don't think you do. Have you and Tom watched Lucifer?
Lucifer with my very dear friend Leslie Ann Brandt, obviously.
I didn't know you knew her.
We did Spartacus together. She's one of my best friends.
I totally forgot that she did Spartacus.
Yes, I was actually supposed to be in the room with her during the birth of her son, Kingston. And unfortunately, Kingston decided to come into the world on his own time. And I was in Mexico. And I was like, girl, please hold him in. I'm coming home tomorrow. But Kingston was like, nope, here I am. Yeah, she's a very, very dear friend of mine.
Look, I don't say this lightly. I believe I am, truly, I give myself this crown. I am the world's biggest evangelist for the Lucifer series.
Wonderful, as you should be. It's phenomenal.
I love this show.
I'm so happy that the fans spoke up so effectively and got the show on its new home of Netflix.
Yeah, and season 4 was great. I'm a little bummed out that season 5 is going to be the final season, but here's hoping they change their mind. But I'm so glad it's got the next 2 seasons. I just love it. So yeah, I think Sam would like him right away. I think Dean would take some warming up too. Let's see. Where are we at? Vault of the Future writes, hey, John, have you seen the trailer for The Current War? I love how a movie can come out of nowhere and shoot up my most anticipated list. Here's the thing. The Current War trailer actually came out over 2 years ago. The Current War trailer came out like 2 years ago, but it was a Weinstein film, and then all the Harvey Weinstein stuff came out. It caused a lot of, obviously a lot of drama. The picture, the Weinstein Company then got put into limbo as a whole. Then it was what's going to happen with it. Finally, a new distributor has picked up the rights to the movie. It now has a release date later this year, and they've been re-releasing the trailers again. But I have loved these trailers. Benedict Cumberbatch, Michael Shannon, Nicholas Hoult, Tom Holland. Anyway, it looks remarkable. I cannot wait to see. Have you seen the trailer for Current War yet, Erin?
Are there any women in it?
I can't remember any off the top of my head. It's about the Westinghouse versus the two guys, Westinghouse, and who does Cumberbatch play? Michael Shannon plays Westinghouse. The other guy plays, I'm forgetting the other name of it. And so it's basically about these two guys and their power struggle to capitalize on the emerging thing of electricity.
Oh, and
I can't remember who any of the other cast are, but it's got a star.
I have not seen any trailers for it. I would be very interested in seeing it.
It looks so good, but it's been around for years. That's the thing.
So when is it coming out?
Later this year. I think September, October.
But we don't have a release date yet.
I think there is a date. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. Hold on a second. Let me just, hey, Google, when is The Current War's release date? See if Google knows.
The Current War will be released in United Kingdom on July 26, 2019.
So it's coming out in the UK next month, but in the US, I don't know if they've nailed down the final release date. I just remember them saying it was going to be later in the year.
But if it's going to be out in the UK within the next month, then it's not in the distant future.
It's not in the distant future. Okay, just a few more here, guys. I'm Upset writes, you've seen Welcome to Marwen yet? I did, and I was disappointed with it. I love Steve Carell. I was so excited for that movie, and then early word was it was quite terrible, so I couldn't bring myself to watch it. Finally did get around to watching it, and it's got Leslie Mann in it, and I love Leslie Mann. But yeah, it was It was pretty much what everybody said it was. Matt Tween sends in a very generous super chat. Thank you, Matt Tween, for supporting the channel on that level, man. Regarding Lord of the Rings, I'm disappointed Jackson didn't include the Hobbit's encounter with Tom Bombadil. It probably would have broken the pace and main storyline, but those chapters with Tom and Goldberry were rich and enchanting. Here's the thing, though. There have been a lot of discussions about the Bombadil thing about Lord of the Rings ever since the first movies came out. It wasn't needed. You didn't need it. It really had no impact on the overall story. And when you're telling your story, you got to cut that excess stuff out. And I get it. He's beloved by a lot of people in the books, but it was not needed for the movies at all. And I think the movies kind of proved that out. I love Bombadil as well. I love Tom Bombadil as well when I read the books. But the reality is, he wasn't necessary for the furthering of the story. And when you got movies that are 3 and in the director's cut 4 hours long, you got to cut what you can cut. And so I get it. Disappointing not to see it, but at the same time, I think it was the right directorial decision to not include that in the screenplay, and I think it worked out. Julius Goodwin writes, also sending a really big super chat. Thank you, Julius. Appreciate it, man. Is it wrong to be nervous when I think about the upcoming Eternals movie? I keep having flashbacks of that Inhumans fiasco. Also, if Warner Brothers gets New Gods movie out first, won't Eternals be seen as a ripoff? No, that's never really a problem. Getting to the main thing, I trust Kevin Feige. It's just simple as that. And Kevin Feige had nothing to do with the Inhuman stuff. And you're right, that was utter garbage. It was utter garbage, which is too bad because I liked a lot of the performers that were in it. And unfortunately, they just didn't know how to make something decent out of it. And it was their poor man's replacement for X-Men, and it kind of played out that way, unfortunately. But Kevin Feige is the guy in charge of the Eternals. Kevin Feige is the one running this thing. And until he proves otherwise, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. So look, am I a little bit nervous about Eternals? Yeah, it seems like a weird decision, but then again, I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was a weird decision. Who the hell ever heard of Guardians of the Galaxy? Nobody. They came out, they made it spectacular. For some people, it's their favorite MCU movie. Now we got the Eternals. It's Kevin Feige run it. Am I a little bit more nervous for this one than I would be for other MCU films? Yes. But overall nervous? As long as Kevin Feige's the guy in the chair, then I'm totally good with it. I have no doubt it's going to work out okay. Sir Q the 27th writes, where does he go? There he is. Visiting Jasper and Banff in from Illinois. Wow, your favorite NP. I have no idea what NP is, but Jasper and Banff, I've been to them both. It's not exaggerating to say Banff might be the most beautiful place on earth. It really might be. If you don't know what it is, look up Banff, Canada online and just look at pictures. It may be the absolute most beautiful place on earth. Last question of the day comes to us from Jedi Lori, who writes, Sherman Brothers created some of the greatest musical music of all time. Mary Poppins, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Jungle Book, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, etc. They did. And they were featured in, did you ever see, Erin, the one with Tom Hanks and Colin Farrell, Saving Mr. Banks?
Yes,
About the making of Mary Poppins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Magical. And the whole
So
parts that went through
beautiful.
a thing. You know what's funny? I always thought, and who was iconic? She's in the new Late Night. The new movie with Mindy Kaling, Late Night. The actress who the woman,
I'm wanting to say Emma Thompson, but I know that that's wrong.
No, you're right. I believe it is Emma Thompson. You know what? Why don't I just suck up my pride and actually look it up on
Or we could
IMDb?
ask Gugu.
That's true, but I think I can pull this up fast. Okay, Saving Mr. Banks, IMDb. All right. So it
I'm gonna say
is,
it's
but I think you're right. I think it's Emma Thompson who is
someone in that world.
It is Emma Thompson.
It is
yes.
Emma Thompson.
Look, I get it. You got Tom Hanks, one of the most celebrated actors of our generation.
Beloved.
You got the goddess Emma Thompson. I get it. But I am telling you what, Colin Farrell deserved an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor in that movie. He was phenomenal. And he got so overlooked because he had these titans in this movie with him, in Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson. And I get it. You got these titans, it's tough to shine. But I'm telling you, to this day, I believe Colin Farrell should have got playing
He's
playing
too
Mr.
hot.
Banks.
It goes back to my thing.
He's
too, because Colin Farrell is not attractive. Colin Farrell is hot. And because of that, people overlook, because he's incredibly talented. He is a phenomenal actor, but people overlook his talent because he's hot.
It's
true. It's the Brad Pitt syndrome.
Because he was so good in that. Oh my God. And
He is.
also
He was
in
beautiful
Bruges.
in
Did you ever
that.
see In Bruges that he did with...
No, but I remember he broke my heart in Saving Mr. Banks.
Oh, yeah.
Broke my heart.
So well done.
Yeah.
I remember I got to go, I stopped doing press junkets very shortly after this, but I did do the Saving Mr. Banks thing. And I sat down with them, and the first thing I said before the camera started rolling with Colin Farrell, I said, I'll be honest with you, dude. I'm a fan of your work. I even loved him as Bullseye in Daredevil. Suck it.
Oh, wow.
But I sat down with him. I said, dude, I've been a fan, but I didn't know you could be this good. He goes, that's what my mom said. So anyway, so it was, I just loved him in that. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Special thanks to all of you guys who have sent in questions. Listen, by the way, there's still a ton of you guys who have sent in questions we didn't have time to get around to. Luke Blackwell, Sam Fisher, Kevin Lewis, Jack Fitzgerald, everybody else who has sent in a question. Do not worry. A little bit later today, I'm going to be doing another video, companion video, just answering all of the leftover questions. Your questions are going to get answered today. But I want to thank the lovely Erin Cummings for being here. Erin, where can people find you online?
Online, I am at Erin L. Cummings. And if you missed it before, my episode on Alicia Oxy's podcast, That One Audition, was launched this week. So if you want to hear lots of crazy stories and me explaining how to do a sex scene, go ahead and listen to that. And also, one little tidbit, I'm going to start a new segment called What I Found in John's Studio. And today, it's a magnet with Tom Hanks' face on it.
Well, I don't know why that should be on my fridge downstairs. You got Anne.
Yes, it was.
Tom
but
Hanks
I
is
took
a god.
it.
Tom Hanks is a god to Anne. Seriously, Anne, Tom Hanks is the ultimate human being ever.
He's pretty great.
I've told everybody that soon, not yet, guys, but soon, I'm going to do a very unprofessional, very Bush League, totally shouldn't do it sort of a thing, where I'm going to ask everybody to Twitter bomb Tom Hanks with you, because he's like him and Steven Spielberg are the only two guys I haven't had a chance to meet and interview. Wow. And I love getting a chance to introduce Anne to some of her favorite people, but Tom Hanks is a god to her. Yeah. And he's the reason she took the job at Hasbro, because of Big. Because
You're kidding.
That was her first movie. She goes, but Big worked in a toy store, so I would like seriously.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible!
I've told all my viewers that at some point I'm going to ask you all to do a totally underhanded, unprofessional thing, and I don't care if I need to quit my job over it. And we're going to Twitter bomb Tom Hanks, so we'll get like 1,000 people sending tweets to him saying, "You've got to meet Anne Campea."
I'm in.
I got it. So not yet, guys, not yet. But sometime soon, I'm going to have all you guys do that. Anyway, Erin, thanks. I always have so much fun you're here. I'd love to have you more regularly.
I would love that. And a couple of people online mentioned that they wouldn't mind me coming back as well. So whenever you'll have me, I will be here.
All right. And it's great having you. It's great having you here. Anyway, guys, listen, that will do it for today's episode of the show. Thanks so much for being here. Don't forget, a little bit later, a companion video is coming. We got open mics this weekend. Keep your eyes open for that. And then, of course, on Monday, the John Campea Show returns. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea. And until the next show, bye-bye.